Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope you're doing well and that you're staying safe out there. And it's Friday, and you know what that means. Episode 7 of The King, Eternal Monarch just dropped, and yes, I have already watched it. Yes, I'm here to give you my recap and my thoughts. So without further ado, let's get into what happened in episode 7. So there's a bit that happens at the very beginning of the episode that I do mention in this recap. It's just a little out of order, but pretty much at the beginning, they start the episode off with what happened between the time that the detective had left Corea and the time that we see at the end of episode 6 where we see the king back in Korea. So the first half of the episode is really all the stuff that was happening during that time. There is a bit that I think is good to know, but I honestly didn't think that it was super important for the recap itself, just because it obviously was also recapping a few things that were already discussed in episode 6. So the subject matter that's brought up at the beginning of this episode, well, I already mentioned in the previous episode recap, and they're just sort of reminding the viewer, reminding you and me of what happened. You know, what we discovered about Yeong, that he's alive, that he's after the flute, all that jazz. We do find out that there's a spy within the court, but we kind of already knew that. That stuff does happen, but I'm not gonna really be covering that in this recap fully, besides just now. Does that make sense? So, new things that happen in this episode. Egon not only visits the Korean universe to see and warn Teu-Eul of possible danger from his uncle, but he also brings Yeong with him, knowing that's the only way he's gonna be able to convince his best friend and guard that parallel universes exist. Yeong, of course, ends up meeting his doppelganger, which gives us some hilarious scenes right off the bat, just because also the king was so positive that there was no way that they were going to run into each other. We also find out that there may be more side effects when the king and Lee Lim pass through the obelisk. At the moment the king and Yeong are passing through, we see the prime minister get a glimpse of her doppelganger through the reflection of her computer screen. And obviously that freaks her out. This would also explain why the detective saw her doppelganger through her rearview mirror in her car in the first episode, and possibly why when Yeong spills his hot drink, his doppelganger feels it even though he's just been given a cold drink in the Korea universe. So yeah, that's an interesting development there. My suspicions about what Lim is planning is proven and more, because apparently it's not just replacing people from Korea in Korea. We see him take loyal subjects of his people in Korea and pretty much replace the future leader of HG Group in Korea with the Korea doppelganger. And by replace, I mean gruesomely murder. We see one of his henchmen stab the Korea doppelganger, and then the Korea doppelganger finish it off. And it seems like the father of the Korea doppelganger had already replaced the Korea doppelganger. It's a whole mess, but there's just a lot of doppelgangers switching places, and it's obviously more than just Lee Lim trying to take over Korea. That is getting so close to just what is gonna happen. I just wanna know so badly. But so that happened in this episode. It also seems that Lim is having Detective Kong followed and watched as well. We see one guy watching him from outside a convenience store earlier in the episode, and then later in the episode, it seems like Kong notices someone taking pictures of him while him and his boss are out eating dinner. We also find out that he is sleeping at the police station since the government has started taking his paycheck because of the money that he owes, well, that his mother owes because of her gambling addiction. We also get a flashback of something that happened to him in his childhood. We don't know why or what it's connected to or why they flash back on that scene, but obviously the writers need us to know that something happened to Kong in his childhood that left him in what could be a coma or something, but like it's him as a little kid wearing a face mask, his mother crying over his body as he opens his eyes, so something happened. It's important, so I'm bringing it up. We get to see a sweet little date with the king and detective where the detective shows the king how to get the big lion plushie, and they also have half and half chicken. It's an overall just very sweet little date that they get to have since they haven't seen each other in a while, and they're both really happy to see each other, and so they're just enjoying the time that they have together. However, they both have things that they need to tell each other, ask each other, so we do actually get those scenes of the king warning the detective about Lim, him being alive and in Korea, and how he needs her help to locate him. And she confirms with him that the news recordings on the burner phone are indeed news from Korea. So that means that her murder is somehow connected to a parallel universe, and she's gonna need the king's help with that. So they're both helping each other find / solve crimes and find people, and basically now things are really getting intertwined for sure. Things are doing this. A lot of this happening. This is also when the king tells the detective about Luna and how Luna could be the detective's doppelganger. I mean, the king didn't know about Luna until Yeong told him earlier on in the episode, but she does ask, hey, if there's all these doppelgangers of people I know in Korea, does that mean I have a doppelganger? And do you know who my doppelganger is? And the king does tell her, yes, there is a doppelganger named Luna that apparently looks like you, but we don't know, he doesn't know anything about the doppelganger. But the king also tells Yeong in this episode about Lim and that he's still alive and that he's jumping between worlds, and he needs Yeong to stay in Korea and find him since he seems to be hiding out there. And when he finds him, he needs to kill him. While this conversation is happening, time stops and the king starts to fill in the gaps that the reason time is stopping is because someone is passing through the obelisk, and that someone is his uncle. So now that he realizes that time stops whenever someone passes and that Lim has obviously passed through the obelisk, the king doesn't know if he's in Korea or his kingdom now, and decides he needs to get back sooner than he was planning, and Yeong needs to stay in Korea and do what he says. Look for him in Korea while he looks for him in Korea. Meanwhile, in Korea, the police officer working with Yeong is calling his cell phone that doesn't have service right now and leaving him a message how they found Luna, and that coincidentally the fingerprints that Yeong had given him matched Luna, and that the reason they couldn't find Luna and arrest her was because she was already in jail. This information also gets to the prime minister, who finds out that she's actually going to be released from prison very soon. So she pretty much goes to meet Luna thinking that it's the detective. I mean, it looks just like her. So she's like, we meet again. The prime minister also gets a newspaper mailed to her from her mother's house. That is a Korean newspaper. You can tell from the headlines because it's talking about how President Trump meets with the leader of North Korea. And the prime minister sees this and is like, this is some fake news, and puts it down. So they have fake news in Korea. Those are the basic recaps of the episode that I feel are important to include in this video. And overall, I thought it was a very good episode. I loved the scenes when Yeong meets his doppelganger in Korea, and just how his doppelganger is so shocked and faints twice. But the reason he's so shocked is because he didn't know how good looking he was until he saw his doppelganger self. And he's like, Why didn't I know I was so good looking? Why did no one tell me? And I like that that's the takeaway. It's not, oh shoot, I have a doppelganger, what's gonna happen? Do I need to murder him? Where that's kind of Yeong's reaction. But no, it's, I'm so good looking. The only thing that I found sort of weird about this episode, and it's such a minor thing, but it's something that I'm like, why aren't they showing this? And it's the fact that the king has a key to the Taekwondo studio. Why? Because before meeting up with the detective, he apparently went and met up with her father, who gave him a key to the studio. Now, that's interesting because it seems like him and her father are now best buds. Yet we have seen no scene of them interacting. Even when the king is at the Taekwondo studio the first time and is telling the detective on the phone when her car is broken down, oh yes, I've met your father, we've had a nice little chat, he's offered me coffee. Where is that scene? Like, is the actor who's playing her father not available, or are they saving these scenes for some flashback moment? Either way, I do find it weird that the king has this apparently strong relationship with her father, but we don't see any of these scenes, and we're just supposed to accept that's how he got the key to the Taekwondo studio. Very strange. That's my only real, like, what? about the episode. Obviously, I'm also very interested to see what's going to happen with the Prime Minister now meeting Luna and more about the Luna character. Oh, I hope Luna and the detective meet. I think that's going to be very interesting because obviously they've made the characters just polar opposites of each other. And I don't know, the way that they teased episode 8, it almost sounds like someone hires Luna to kill the king. Especially now that they know that Luna looks just like the detective. I'm just speculating here. I'm kind of wondering if someone's going to be like, Luna, we're gonna have you be the detective and you're gonna kill the king. Oh, I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm wrong, but that would be a very interesting twist to this show for sure. But yeah, about episode 7, that's what I have. Those are my feelings. I thought it was great. What was your favorite scene in this episode? Mine obviously was when the Yeong and his doppelganger in Korea met, and those interactions, those were so funny to me, mostly because of the actor and how he portrays his doppelganger self in Korea. Like, the characters are just so different. I think the actor does a great job portraying both characters, and I think that's why I liked it so much. But I want to know, what scene was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you when I come back to recap and give you my thoughts on episode 8. Bye. We also get a flashback to something happened. We also get a flash, and that Yeong is in Korea, and he wants Yeong to stay and find him and then kill him because Yeong is obviously looking for the king to put together the flutes. And meanwhile in Korea, like I meant,